Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of We Run This, the podcast made for every runner. This week, we're joined by Naya Tapper. After earning All-American track and field honors in high school, Naya started her rugby career at UNC Chapel Hill. As a professional, Naya is the all-time leading scorer for the U.S. Women's Eagles. She earned a silver medal at the 2017 Dubai Sevens tournament, a gold medal at the 2019 Barrett's Olympique Pays Basque, easy for you to say, and a silver medal at the 2019 Pan American Games. Naya's infectious personality and honesty has made her the face of USA women's rugby. In this episode, Naya and I talk on her recovery day about her years as a high school runner, her transition from track star to rugby star, her approach to training and running even on the days she doesn't want to get out of bed, and the public's misconceptions about women's rugby. So without further ado, We Run This presents Naya Tapper. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of We Run This. This week it's just me. I'm flying solo. Nick is not here, but I do have a guest because no one wants to hear me talk by myself for 40 minutes. So I have Naya Tapper with me. Naya, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime. Here's my first question, and I feel like I should start asking this to all of our guests, but I think it really makes a difference and resonates with you. So you ran track and field in high school and college, correct?
Not in college.
Not in college,
just
but in
in
high school.
middle school and high school. Mm-hmm.
Middle school and high school, and then you started playing rugby.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first question would be, do you love to run or does running love you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I'd say running loves me.
Okay.
Like, I feel like it's in my genetics.
Okay.
So for me, it's like something I happen to be good at. So
Okay.
I try my best to take advantage of it.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that because, I mean, we talk about on the podcast a lot about how there are people who love to run and there are people who are just really good at running. But I feel like if you love to run and you go and start running, you might not always be that good, but you're going to keep it up. But even if you love to run, there's things that like people are really great at that they still don't do.
Yeah.
So you kind of so you're really good at it. So what made you transition from track and field to rugby?
Just because rugby entailed a lot more different skills than just running.
Mm-hmm.
So because I wasn't in love with running, but it was something I was good at, being able to focus my attention on other skills while also running, I kind of forget that I'm running. Mm-hmm. So that hate really isn't there because I'm thinking about other skills that I'm having to do on the field.
So what you're saying is you don't hate running as much as long as you're doing something else.
Yeah, distraction.
How long do you think you could last? Not like not your stamina or anything, but if someone was like, "Go run," how long do you think you could do it before you're just bored shitless?
I'd probably say 3 miles.
3 miles?
Yeah.
Would you give it your all, or would you just be like, "I just want to get this over with"?
Just a jog, a nice pace. I don't feel like you should go all out in anything that's past like 200 meters,
but you do run. I mean, and in the typical rugby game, like how much do you run? Would you estimate in the typical game?
I'm not so sure in a game, but in practice, some days we're running 3 to 7 miles.
Okay.
And a lot of that is like, for me personally, short bursts. And then some jog in between, short bursts, jog in between. So even then, like, I'm so occupied with training that I don't realize how much I've actually ran.
Got ya.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the transition. I mean, was rugby big in your town? Like, how did you go from, like, what happened? Where did you go?
So rugby wasn't big at all, but weirdly, my high school had a rugby team.
Okay.
We had a math teacher who used to play it, and our high school was a predominantly black school. So we had a white male who used to play rugby come to that school as a math teacher, and he brought the sport to that school. And that's kind of where it blossomed and where I had my first introduction to it. Not that I played in high school, but that I just learned about a new sport that involved contact and all these other fun things along with running, which was something I was doing in high school and was very good at.
Okay. I feel like in high school, this happens a lot. If you have a teacher that's kind of good at something, like the school will let you do it as long as someone knows what they're doing. Like, it's like, oh, you start a rugby team? Yeah, sure. It's like, oh, you can build Lego castles? Yeah, sure. Go ahead, go do that. It's like, as long as you keep the kids occupied after school for like an extended period of time, you can get the okay to do that.
Yeah.
So
exactly what happened.
What was the initial reaction like when you told family and friends that you wanted to play rugby?
So when I found out about it in high school, I told my track coach. That's kind of the only person I expressed my interest in the sport to. And his first response was absolutely not, just because of the stereotype behind rugby about how aggressive and rough it can be and how injury prone it can be. And that wasn't something that he was interested in one of his star track runners putting their body into.
Right.
So that was my first experience with expressing interest. It was kind of a shoot down automatically, and I was okay with it back then because I didn't have love for the sport. I didn't know anything. I didn't know about rugby, so it didn't feel like I was missing out on anything.
Right.
And then when I got to college, I told my mom I wanted to play, and she was all about it. So as long as which is weird because a lot of playing in college, I noticed a lot of parents who weren't very accepting of their daughters playing rugby, but most of the time the girls did it anyway.
You know what I find interesting, and I feel like we do this with a lot of stuff. The first person you decided to tell when you wanted to play rugby was the one person who's probably going to say no.
Like, I didn't set myself up good with that one.
Did you think it was because maybe they would say no and it would give you, your coach would say no and it would give you the out, or like?
No, I just felt like I needed permission for him, just in terms of time and being able to do the sport if he did say yes, and also do track and field.
Got ya. So you go to college and you start playing in college. What was the first thing you noticed the differences between track and then playing rugby full time?
The uniform, or like what you train in.
Okay.
So like track and field. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Does it say what are you training like? What do you train in? Anything? Do you train in what you wear on the field, or is it more like?
So track and field, like for us, you wore compression shorts, sports bra, and track cleats. Like the bare minimum amount of clothing, as light as you can be. And then when I came to my first rugby training in that type of training gear, I was out of place because everybody had on compression shorts, but they had on rugby shorts over it. And rugby shorts are usually like bigger, not very flattering to the body back then. Now women have made shorts that look a lot better, but back then, unflattering shorts, compression shorts, a t-shirt, like you were, especially during the winter, like you had long sleeves, you had sweatpants, you had jacket, a rain jacket, like just so heavy and clothed, which was so different. So it was definitely like a shocker. That was, I think, for me.
Does that take a while to get used to, the like wearing more clothing when you're training?
Not so much, but I think the main thing is like the lack of creativity you're allowed to have. So when we do have rugby games, like everybody's wearing the same thing. It's very clean, not showy. But in track and field, like your goal is to get the most vibrant, out of this world outfit, and everybody can dress to their personality, and you don't really get to show that through your clothing. In rugby, you kind of just have to show that through your play.
Well, I feel like the track and field thing, I mean, I'm assuming women modeled themselves after like Flojo and people that came before them who were very showy. And then when you're in rugby, there wasn't that. I mean, not that I know of. Has there ever been any like showy female players? Right. So maybe you got to be the first.
I know of. Well, I mean, you have girls now who like will do a lot with their hair.
Uh-huh.
So like the braids and the colors and the scrunchies and the bows, like that's kind of what's been our only outlet so far. But me, I don't have long hair, so it's like no scrunchie, none of that. Like you just kind of gotta suck it up.
Are there rules to that, like uniform rules or like hair rules or?
I don't think so.
No. So yeah. I guess people, they'll figure it out like when someone does something and the league is like, no, then it'll kind of be.
Yeah, do it and ask for forgiveness later type of thing.
Can you wear your own own cleats? You'll have to wear the same cleats. How does that work?
Oh, you can wear your own cleats. So that's probably another way of being able to, show off your personality, whether your cleats are brighter or sleeker. But it depends on your sponsorships and stuff. If you have a certain sponsorship, maybe you can only wear a certain type of cleat.
So. Back to the running part, and actually all the sports part. A lot of the times on the podcast, we talk about how a lot of running, and with most sports, it's mental. It's getting like up for, running or whatever you have to do. Do you ever find yourself sometimes mentally you're just like not into it?
Probably like every other day.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about how because that's a lot. Every other day, a lot. Like some people have had on here, they're like, no, I never do it. Like, but let's talk about it. So how do you talk yourself up?
I just try to give myself time limits. So because I've done it in the past, it's like, okay, Naya, like it's only an hour. It's only 30 minutes of your day. Once that's done, like you'll be happy about the fact that you were able to motivate yourself to do it and that you got a good workout and just those hormones that come from running and working out. So I just try to think of that and just be like, okay, you'll be done in an hour. Like you'll be fine. Just go do it. And then the quicker you do it, the quicker you're done.
Have you ever really not been into it one day and ended up having like the best game or practice that you've had in a while? That happens a lot to me. Like I won't be into a run and then I'll have a great run, but then the next day I'll be super ready to go and it'll be awful.
I'm not sure. I've never really thought about it in that way. I never like looked at it from that aspect. But I can say like if I was having a bad day after working out, I felt a lot better.
Do you have any like pre-practice or pre-game routines that you kind of do?
Stretching and like listening to music. That's probably like a big motivator for me. I run a lot faster and I perform a lot well in training, like gym sessions or running miles if I have music in my ear.
What are you listening to?
Everything. So like I listen to like modern day hip hop right now, R&B, old school R&B. That's about it. I guess that's not everything, but like it feels like everything to me.
Okay, let's do this. I might put you on the spot here, but like what's one song that's on your iPod that you're always like, oh God, if anybody ever heard that song on my iPod, one song that just gets you pumped up, but like people will probably make fun of you for it. I have one. I'll let you go first.
Okay, let me think. That's hard. I feel like I wouldn't be ashamed for any of them.
Not so much ashamed, but it kind of like doesn't fit into anything else that you have.
Maybe like I Put Your Picture Away by Chris Rock, I think it is.
Kid Rock.
Kid Rock, yeah.
Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow.
Yeah.
Wait, I was like, Chris Rock. I put your picture away. That was a terrible Chris Rock impersonation, but I'm trying it anyway. I'd like to. Okay, so that you could work out to that.
Yeah, because for me, it's another distraction. So that is like a singing song. So being able to sing that and be distracted from the fact that I'm running or working out, I just go.
Are you a singer? Like, will you sing out while songs are on that you're listening to?
Yeah.
Like when they're in your ears? Okay.
Yeah, not so much running just because of the energy I'm having to exert during that, but weightlifting sessions for sure.
Like loud
Yeah.
in the middle of a gym?
Yep. Every day we lift, we put on music and we're just jamming and going through the motions of our lift. It's good.
So you just have earplugs in and you're just like, I put your picture away.
Either that or either that or
uh-huh.
we'll have it like on the stereo.
Is there anyone
Yeah.
on the team that insists on putting their iPod on and it's terrible?
Um,
You could put them on blast. Go ahead.
Whoever like gets on there and plays country music the whole
Okay,
time, like it's horrible.
that's
I'd say
fair.
maybe Kirsch. I feel like Kirsch would play country music the whole time. It's
Mm-hmm.
bad.
I'll give you one of the songs that's like a guilty pleasure of mine that's on my iPod. Freedom by George Michael. That's a good run. So, freedom, I won't let you down. Freedom.
Oh, okay, I got
It's
you.
like, I mean, I know I'm singing it beautifully. That you can tell what it is.
Well, I was about to say, you seem like you have some form of a good voice. That wasn't bad.
I'm a little bit below average. I used to do like school plays and stuff, but I was always in chorus.
That's above average.
No, I was always in chorus. Like I was in the back where they're like, this guy's got kind of deeper voice, put him in the back and like don't let anybody hear him. And like I was always good at smiling. Like one time I was in a show and like I guess the people who were next to me weren't doing as well. This was in high school. And they're like, look at Chris, watch what Chris is doing, which as soon as anyone does that, like you know that, like in sports too, like as soon as a coach is like, watch this, you're not gonna be able to do it. Well, like that's what happened there. I was like, watch Chris's face, and I was like, and like laugh and like happy. But then when I felt everybody like staring at me, like I felt really stupid. So, but yeah. So I was always like where the hell did we start with that? Oh, the singing. I was like, how did we get on that topic? Yeah. So the singing thing, but the George Michael song "Freedom" is always. Okay. I'm gonna splice it in here while we're talking. So I can play in case anybody doesn't know. Because sometimes I'm shocked, like, what songs people know and what they don't.
Yeah. Like, see, that's my thing. I don't really know the names and the artists. But if you play a song, I'll be able to sing to it and know the lyrics for sure.
You'd probably know it. I was actually I do another podcast where I was talking to a professional wrestler. And I didn't realize he was born in 1996. So we were talking about, like, music and, like, what he listens to. And he was like, I don't know. Sometimes I'll go old school, like the first Bieber album or something. And I was like, old school is the first Bieber album. Okay, I think he was half joking, like he was in character. But yeah. So yeah. So music sometimes does it for me. Another thing that maybe you do that I know a lot of other athletes that I talk to. Once you start, like when you get a routine. Once you start doing the things that you always do, it kind of just like you go on autopilot.
Habit. Yeah.
Yeah. It goes on autopilot. Yeah. And if like you can do the one thing, like, okay, if I just lace up my sneakers, I know I'm going to go out there. Like if I just, do whatever it is. So how have you been able to keep yourself motivated during COVID?
So I've had like training partners.
Okay.
So kind of how you said of as long as I tie my shoes, I'll go work out. For me, it was as long as I drive to my friend's house,
right,
we're going to make sure that we get the workout done. So eventually that became a habit, and it was like, it was instinct just to get up, go do the workout, and then know you have the rest of the day to relax. So I didn't need much motivation after it became a part of my everyday routine. So it was good.
Have you ever had it where you were the one that was ready to work out and somebody else wasn't? Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. Like they'll be like, "Oh, I was gonna call and say I didn't want to do it, or like do it another day." And I'm like, "Well, I'm glad you didn't because we were gonna be doing it anyway." Like there was times where one person would have to take the lead, so it was nice that you knew, regardless, that you were gonna have somebody to hold you accountable and push you to get the work done.
Has it ever been? I'm sure this happens a lot where you're just like, I just don't feel like getting hit today. Like, it's not even the running and the workout. It's like, I don't feel like getting hit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's probably every contact day. Nobody really likes contact, but it's a part of the sport and that it's a part of the training session. So it's kind of, for me, the same thing of, okay, this is going to be 20 minutes of contact. just get it done, and then the rest of the training you can just fly through the drills and stuff. It's kind of just having that mindset of thinking about the end goal before it's there to kind of help you motivate yourself a little bit to do it.
Do you ever get used to the contact, like where you don't even think about it?
In a rugby game aspect, or like during training when we're trying to simulate game style playing, for sure you get used to it because it's instinct. It's like, I don't want her to score, I need to tackle her. But when you simmer it down to a smaller drill, and it's like you're just tackling, only focusing on tackling, that's a lot harder to find motivation to do it.
What's your favorite part of the sport? You can say scoring. It's okay. You're good at that.
That's fun. That's fun, but it's definitely tiring. I think aside from scoring tries, my favorite thing is probably just the culture of rugby. Like, it's very accepting, very open, non-judgmental, and the fans are like, they're just so loving and caring. That's probably, I would say, is the best thing for me. That's one of the things I look forward to during, before, and after games, is interacting with the people who are watching us during our games, our fans, and even people who aren't our fans yet, but we're able to make them into fans just from watching us play.
What's a misconception you think people have about rugby?
That only men can play it and be good at it. Yeah.
What do you
get that a lot?
Yeah. What do people say to you, like, when you say, like, I play professional rugby? Like, what do people say to that?
Either they say, "Oh, I didn't know women played," or they'll say, "Women aren't supposed to be playing that," or they'll say, "Oh, is that like?" They'll try to describe it, but they'll end up describing lacrosse or field hockey or polo, and we're just like, "No, that's not it. That's not it." That's like some of the stuff.
I don't understand the, like, women aren't supposed to play that. Yeah. I don't get that.
I think just because it's an aggressive sport. And so
women play other aggressive sports?
Absolutely. But I think just from the stereotype, the idea of a woman tackling another woman versus, soccer, that's an aggressive sport in terms of, like, sometimes you'll run into somebody or push or stuff, but tackling somebody, like knocking the air out of somebody, possibly creating a high chance of injuring somebody on purpose.
Okay.
I think having that idea of a woman doing that based on pre-stereotypes from the past of what a woman is supposed to represent and be like, and what feminine is supposed to be like, I feel like that isn't something very common for people who grew up back in the day, because I feel like a lot of those comments where it's like, women aren't supposed to be playing that, it's older women. Always older women.
That's the there's that certain generation that holds on to, like, certain stereotypes of things. Like, one time I was leaving the playground with my son, and my dad was with us, and my dad's in his, like, mid-70s, and my son was playing with a girl, and, like, the girl was better at, like, climbing the jungle gym, better at, like, doing all that stuff, and my son was saying something to my dad, and my dad said, like, "Well, it's because she's a tomboy." And my son was like, "What's a tomboy?" And then my dad, like, explained this, like, 2-sentence thing, and I, like, waited for him to be done. And I'm like, "Evan, it's called a girl. She's just better than you at stuff. Like, it's not, like, I don't know why he needed it, but that generation needs to, like, label, like, it's just a girl who's better at stuff. Like, just get over it."
And I never thought of it like that.
That's all it is.
I feel like all the girls on my team are like, "Yeah, I was a tomboy when I was younger."
Yeah.
And now hearing you say it like that, it's like, well, dang, that was a stereotype they created for us.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They have to put the word boy in there. No, you're just a
Mhm.
girl who's better than boys at stuff. Like, you don't have to call it anything. You're just a girl. That's why I was like, she's just a girl. She's a girl. Like, she's just good
Yeah.
at it. Yeah, so it's kind of, there's a lot of things. And you feel like, you look at the way things are now and you hope things are getting better.
Mhm.
But then you look at some stuff and you think to yourself, now, if I didn't know better, and my dad really didn't say anything like to be spiteful or anything or be malicious. That's just how he was raised. And when you look at people now, you're like, well, there's still a generation that's being raised by that other generation. So
Yep.
there's going to be a person who's 18 or 19 years old who might one day come up to you and say, oh, well, you're a girl, you shouldn't be hitting other girls or whatever, because they're being
Mhm.
raised by that other. So people are
Yeah.
always like, well, once that generation goes away, things will get better. Nah, they're raising a whole nother set just right underneath
Level.
it. Yeah. So you got
Yeah.
to like kind of correct those people and say, no, this is, the thing.
Yeah.
So we got kind of deep there. But so what are, so we always talk about on the podcast, like getting people motivated to do different types of activities. If someone wanted to try rugby, like if there's young girls out there listening that want to give rugby a shot, like how should they go about it? Like what should they look for?
So I know it's big on the West Coast. We have a girls rugby organization, and that's
Mm-hmm.
for like girls from 5 and up.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how popular that is on the East Coast, but I know they have some locations in San Diego and Colorado, some of those places. So my first suggestion would be to find a club team in your area.
Mm-hmm.
Just and it might not be your age range, but they may be able to help you find a club that's in your age range.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the first step in being able to get into a rugby environment to
Mm-hmm.
learn about the sport. From there, you can go in so many different ways. You can go to college now and play rugby on a scholarship. Your club team can take you to a big tournament, and you can be scouted from there to come to a rugby camp at the training center in Chula Vista. Um, there's so many different ways to do it, but then also it's not that many ways to do it, which is kind
Right.
of something that we're working on now is like
Mm-hmm.
building this path that is accessible to everybody versus people having to figure it out on their own. To be able to say, this is how you get to becoming a USA women's rugby player.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I think we should be focusing on because it is really up in the air. Whereas the men's team, they're kind of getting that figured out for their side. So I think now it's up to us to make sure that it's accessible to females who want to possibly play rugby and find out what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like it's got to be easier now too, because like how many women are on the team?
We have about 24.
Okay, so let's say 24, and each one of them has their own Instagram account or their own Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and then that
Yeah.
reaches so many people. So it's a lot more accessible than 20 years ago, where to like find
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, you would call your local recreation department, and they're like, what? But
Yeah.
now you can kind of like do a Google search and kind of come up with stuff, and maybe even start yours in your own town. You know,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that they do around here for soccer. So I live in New Jersey, and my kids played local rec soccer, and the New York, New Jersey Red Bulls, the soccer team, the pro soccer team, they would
Mm-hmm.
come down, and so my kids would play. So there was like different age groups. So like the little kids would go, and then would go all the way up to like the teens, and the Red Bulls would come down, and Friday nights they would hold practice for the kids, like the actual professional Red Bulls would come down,
Yeah.
and then like for my daughter, she was there for an hour, so it would be like a half hour of game, half hour of instruction from the Red Bulls. So maybe like if rugby gets around enough, the women's teams could go around to other girls organizations and like teach that way, or
Yeah.
like work in different way. And I don't know, I'm not trying to solve everything, but just coming up with
No,
ideas.
yeah. And that's something we definitely do a lot internationally. So whenever we go to tournaments around the world on our off days, we try to go in a as a team or in a small groups to schools around the area to play rugby and teach rugby to people around there. And I feel like that's something we need to start doing more in our own country, because it's a lot easier to do it in the countries outside of the U.S. just because rugby's a lot bigger over there. There's a lot more interest. Here, it's a lot harder to get those opportunities. So I think we just need to really focus on how we can create that stuff here, because we have camps. I have my own camp that's like females only, to create a safe and comfortable environment for women and little girls to learn how to play rugby, enjoy playing rugby, and grow in that realm of sport. But yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Why do you think? I mean, it's really hard for other sports to catch on here. Like, why do you think? Is it because girls are already playing other sports? Is it because they don't know that it's available? Like, what is it?
They don't know it's available. They're playing other sports, as you said. There's so many other sports that are a lot bigger in the U.S. and have a more structured system and organization than rugby does right now. A lot of parents don't want their daughters playing a contact sport at a young age.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those would be the main things. And just the availability of organizations and club teams for younger girls around their areas.
I got to be honest, thinking about like rugby as compared to some of the other female sports, I feel like it looks a lot safer than, say, like field hocky, because I've seen some of the girls like swinging sticks, and that ball is hard. Like that stuff, that scares me. Like it kind of like makes me nervous when I see that. Like, I don't know if my daughter will be into that kind of thing, but like if she is, I'm gonna be like, I don't know, maybe I'll push her towards rugby.
Please do.
I mean,
I don't know.
She already beats the crap out of her brother, and she's pretty good at tackling him, and he's older, so maybe I'll just like kind of encourage her to do that.
Yeah. I think it would be something fun for her at least to experience and try. She may not like it, but at least she tried and had the opportunity to do something that she possibly could be really good at.
Yeah. Well, see, I've learned with my kids, and I think a lot of parents out there will understand this. I can't say to her, hey, we're going to go watch a women's rugby game or match, because that's automatically like shut down. So what I have to do is I have to put something on TV and just start watching it without her around. And she will walk in and go, what are you watching? And then that's what gets her involved. Because as soon as I say, I want you to see this, kids zone out. So if I put something on TV, then she kind of comes in and I'll be like, well, these are women playing rugby. So I think that's my move. I think that's my move.
That's smart.
So real quick, two things before I let you go. Naya on Fire, what's that?
That's my brand right now.
Okay.
Not right now, but forever. My mom's best friend, her and my mom love to rap, and they're from New York, so that's their thing. And so when I was younger, my mom's best friend would call me Naya on Fire because it rhymed. And I kind of forgot about it for a while, and then as I was starting to look past how I can have more of an impact away from the field and how I can build my social media and my brand, I realized I needed a name. And Naya on Fire made sense just because of my speed, and they have the flames on the cleats, and it just all made sense. So that's kind of started from back in the day, and something that rose back up, and I've been taking advantage of since.
I like it.
Yeah.
And then my final question, did you ever go back to that high school coach? Does he know? I mean, I'm sure he knows that you play.
He is my stepdad.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. I like how you just casually drop that in. So, yes, he does know.
And he's the biggest fan ever.
So, wait, did that happen after? Like, how did that...
Him and my mother started dating maybe my last year of high school.
Oh, man.
So he's been around in my life for a long time.
That is actually amazing. That is actually such a good story. So he definitely does know.
Yeah, no. He like brags about it. Like, do you know my stepdaughter Naya Tapper? She's a rugby player. I'm like, well, you're the one who it wouldn't happen if it wasn't up to you.
That is a great story. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about before I let you go? I'll plug all your social media stuff, in the article. But like anything else anything that's on your mind that you want to talk about, or?
I would just say, if you're listening, to follow my YouTube channels. I have ab workout videos on there. I have a kind of interview segment where I interview my teammates so that the world can get a better look about those people if they may not be able to see them on the field or get into who they are off the field. I also have a new website up where I'm selling a lot of my Naya on Fire t-shirt merch. So if you're listening, also go to my website at nayatapper.com and follow me on all my social media platforms at Naya Tapper.
I saw you have Naya's Ab Club. Is that like a hard club to get into? How do I have to have abs to get in that club?
Nope, it's open to everybody.
It's open to everybody? Okay, because if you have to show abs, I'll be like, I'll just
We
pass.
do have like an ab check, but abs is,
abs are hard.
Everybody's abs is different. Like I've seen so many different forms of abs. I've seen one big ab. I've seen
Wait, one big ab? How do you get one big ab? That's undigested pizza. That's not an ab.
Basically.
How do you? What exercises do you do to get one big ab?
Pizza. Eat pizza.
Okay. So a lot of people don't understand that, like the ab thing. You could do crunches till you're like blue in the face.
No,
like, it's made in the kitchen. Like it's what you're eating. It's what that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a combination of a lot of different things.
Yeah, I mean you should do the ab works out, but like you can't like do 500 crunches and then go and eat pizza and like you're not going to get abs. You have a flat stomach.
As you get older, for sure, but like in high school, you definitely could do that.
Yeah, that's not even fair. Like I wish I knew in high school that I just had to put out a little bit of effort
and then maintain that. Yeah. That's what I'm doing.
In high school, or not even in high school, like when I was a little kid, I used to watch a lot of wrestling, and I had like the Hulk Hogan weight set. So I would just do like bicep curls all day. And like I was like in 7th grade and I had like these giant biceps, but like the rest of me was like nothing. I just like do the Hulk Hogan workout. And like I didn't know. There's so many things like I just didn't know as a kid. A lot of kids don't. So
yeah.
But Naya, thanks. I really enjoy talking to you. And good luck with everything. And I wish you the best.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
And that brings another episode of We Run This to a close. Nick and I want to thank everybody for listening. If you love the podcast, please share it with friends or leave a review on iTunes. And remember to follow Nick and I on social media. He's at It's Nick Domingo, and I'm at Chris Illuminati on Twitter. Or follow us both on Instagram at WeRunThis_pod. Until next time, see everybody out there.